this body of work, the Horny Catholic Girl show, originated as an extension of my sort of lived experience and also this sort of digital culture that I've been consuming this past year and just the general sort of internet zeitgeist, what I've been seeing on my social media platforms. So the symbols that I've used throughout the show, obviously I've referred to the tactile sense quite a lot throughout. You can see that throughout the different textures that I've depicted. I have obviously lots of fabrics. There's the wood, the marble, and the repeated reference to hands across the pieces. On top of that, I try to capture the girl element by signifying girlhood through the palette, the pinks, ribbons, painted nails, the hair. And then obviously you've got the religious iconography and the repeated reference to the phone. No, I wouldn't describe myself as a desecrating artist. I'm not intending to desecrate religion. I'm just trying to show essentially that as we move forward as a society, move away from religion and more towards a technocratic state, we're losing our sort of sense of community and our real life interpersonal connection and relationships, and falling more sort of into this intangible, weird, parasocial connection and isolating ourselves even further. No, I wouldn't say narcissism is the main problem of our times, but it's definitely becoming more prevalent with the rise of post-industrial service-based economies. Yeah, social media takes the idea that identity should be monetized and repackages and resells it to the everyman. So the allure of self-branding and fame is sort of taken on by everyone, and everyone's a little bit more self-obsessed, and then the narcissism follows. My practice is essentially born out of the way that I consume imagery and am an image consumer in the digital age. Most people with a phone and a social media account, I'm online looking at images, constantly screenshotting images and categorizing them within folders in my phone and taking my own photos. And then when I decide on a theme that I want to explore or a body of work that I want to make, I have a wealth of imagery at my disposal. I have so many photos on my phone. 240,792. Yes, that is quite a lot. So yeah, I work with oil on linen. The preparation of the surface is really important to me. I do 5 layers of gesso, sanding between each layer to try and make an immaculate, smooth surface. And then also with the painting, I try and handle the paint in a manner that sort of removes the artist's hand so you can't see many brush strokes. And I do this intentionally because I'm essentially trying to bridge the gap between the traditional imperfect medium of oil painting with the contemporary, perfect, flat digital image. Yeah, I like to sort of curate a sense of narrative between the works within a space, and I guess one way that I try and facilitate that to happen is when I'm preparing the body of work, I try and have 2 of each of a similar size so that there's a more obvious symmetry and sort of narrative between the works in the space. So yeah, when I was conceiving this body of work, I was reading Laura Mulvey, Christopher Lash, Julia Kristeva. I was looking at quite a few odd masters, Velasquez and Caravaggio, and the lesser known Hans Melming, and a couple of French romantics, also Edouard Dubuffet and Amélie Duval. Yeah, so I guess how women self-represent themselves now is not as modest as it was in the past, and with the rise in social media, and we went through the first and second waves of feminism, which was very important, and we did the sexual liberation movement, which again, very important, and now as we move into third wave and intersectional feminisms, there's a sort of push for sexual empowerment, which also can be great, but I feel like this has been sort of co-opted by the market, co-opted by the media, and this term sexual empowerment often leads to hypersexualization. And I know growing up when I was younger, and still today sometimes, I struggle with this because the sort of media I was consuming, especially when I was younger and naive and hadn't figured out how I felt about myself, where I stood my body, my sexual, all of that. It's confusing when you're growing up and just being fed these like hyper-sexualized images of women taking by themselves and taking by others, and being fed that this is how to conduct yourself, to be a strong, powerful, empowered woman. But I don't think that is the case, and womanhood is not an umbrella term. Each woman needs to figure out how they feel about themselves, and if that means not self-objectifying manner and feeding into this concept of sexual empowerment and just maybe being a bit more modest, a bit more conservative, but I feel like that is important at the end of the day, and I feel in a way that's kind of what the third wave and intersectional feminism loses. It's pushing this agenda that need to be sexually empowered and sexually free in order to be contemporary modern women, and I don't think that's the case.